I'm back with the track again. I still left the bridges and this outer circle, and the gnomes are still there. But I went ahead and I took the two offshoot tracks where we could back our locomotives on, and I replaced them with this circle track. So now I have two loops, an inner loop and an outer loop, and I still have both trains on here. What I did is now I separated this track, the inside track, from the outside track. And what I did to do that is I isolated the inner track and the outer track from each other. So what I did is I left the isolating pin, like we had before, in this position. And I added one to this main track here. I also had to do the same thing on the other side with adding the isolating pin to that track over there and the track there, just the center ones. I left the jumpers pretty much the same. I have the main power switch that turns everything on and off. I don't really need it. I could do the AB or the three-way switch, turn on inside track or outside track, but I left the main power switch in anyways. So I can go ahead and power this up like it is, and we see we have the yellow light on for the main power to the rest of the track. But here, with the power switch turned off, I don't have any power to the red light for the inside track or the green light here for the outside track. So with this, I can go ahead and power it on our transformer and turn the system on. Now everything can have power. I got my three-way switch in this position, which should be this train. So I have my tracks in a straight position. I can go ahead and power up the train. I'm going to go ahead and power down this train right before that switch. So now, at this point, I can bring on, sorry about my finger, this track here to a curved position. Bring this track to a curved position like so. Go ahead and flip our track selector switch, or the three-way switch. Now we should have power on the red LED, but not the green one here. And so if we power up our train, here comes the other train on the track. And I can stop that way on the inside track. Now the reason I'm doing this versus the back off track that we had before, trying to push these cars back onto a side spur, I find is almost impossible to keep them all on the track. I don't know if other people have luck with that. I personally don't. So that's why I made the circuit like this. I'm also going to modify this track, surprisingly again, using another dead circuit we're going to get into. But that's kind of what I want to show for today is what I'm doing. We'll get into the next modification of this track shortly, maybe later today, depends on how long I got to set it up. So that's what I'm at now, doing the inner outer loop. The only bad thing with this inner outer loop is now the last video had the third train running on it. We can't do that now at all because it's either one way or the other. I want to talk also about some of these trains a little bit. And I mean, this is 40, 50-year-old technology, some of this stuff. And I've noticed that some of these trains don't like running the switches as much, and that's something you're going to have to play with. This train really didn't like going through the curve, but was fine going straight. This train over here didn't mind the curves as much. So I went ahead and I moved this one to the inside and left this one on the outside. Now it just depends on the trains you got, the type of cars you're pulling, whether they like going through switches or not. I have this diesel electric over here, and that absolutely will not run switches, the curved part. It'll go straight fine. So that'd be a position we definitely have to have the diesel electric on the outside track. That's just the, way this kind of stuff goes. And even at that point, I had some of these cars. This one, I couldn't get it to stay on parts of the track for whatever reason. I have another train somewhere else, another car somewhere that won't stay on the track either. Now, if we did the offshoot like we did yesterday, there's no reason why, if we had the room, we couldn't add another switch. And this is a good place where we have switches that are no good or broken, or manual switches that we not going to use other places, because I have a couple of these switches that are broke. I have a couple that are manual that I got just because I got a really, really good price on them. Now we could add another one of those switches in here, in this anywhere this area, and run another offshoot like we talked about before. And at that point, we don't have to use any of that track to back a train off. We could if we wanted to and have a third train set up, a back off track. But having an extra track like that, if we wanted to, we could run some of these cars that will not stay on the track. I have this track, or this car that's broken. So we could definitely do another track off to the side just to use these as a display for the cars that we have trouble with. So they're still useful. And at that point, if we're going to do that, we have some of this track that's really, really rough, really, really nasty. I have some of this stuff that's actually been, stepped on or smushed when I got it. So it will not run a train on it very well. But we can use that rough track if we had another side chute. As long as the car's just going to sit on it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to conduct electricity. Even for backing a train off onto it, as long as the first part of the locomotive's on good track, it doesn't really matter what's behind it for pushing cars on. So we can make a lot of uses out of stuff that necessarily doesn't work. But I just want to show you where I'm at. If you have any ideas or questions, this is the way I'm doing it for now. Just because I do it doesn't mean you have to do it. So leave a like, add a comment, subscribe. That way you don't miss the next section that we're going to definitely get a little more electrically involved into. So, thank you.